Formula One cost caps. Yep, we are here once again. Expect me to be head down looking at news reports and articles later on this morning, because we are once again in a world where speculation is running rife. What do we know so far? Well, the reality is no team has got a cost cap certificate for last year, which means ultimately there's an issue. We would have had them by now. We normally have them by now. By the fact that no team has them, there is quite clearly a fundamental issue holding up the issuing of those certificates by the FIA. Now, the Race and Planet F1 are both reporting that Aston Martin have made a procedural breach and have reached an ABA agreement with the FIA. That's not been confirmed by the FIA because they are saying what they always say, which is they are saying absolutely nothing because they're undergoing a process and will communicate it in due course. But the paddock rumours are suggesting that there is a bigger breach at play, and that's the issue. Now, the reality is we all know what this means. This means that once again a team will be faced with a potential of a fine or a sporting penalty, and with a team worth £1 billion upwards, they will most likely take the fine to make sure that they don't get hit. But it does raise questions over the cost cap and whether or not the penalty actually matches the crime. Because for Aston Martin, this will be the second year in a row they made a procedural error, and the second year in a row where actually they've faced no sporting penalties whatsoever, just a slap on the wrist. Now, when your team is worth billions of dollars, then actually what does a few million fine actually equate to for breaking the rules? Because that's what this is in the fundamental end of day play things. We all remember Ross Brown sitting there and saying, actually, if you break the rules, you'll get a championship taken away. That was a Formula One management official commenting on an FIA directive. It was never going to last. However, that's the soundbite that gets wheeled out every single time this happens. The fans see teams just getting away with it, and the fans see this as just an excuse for the FIA to line their pockets and for teams to just write a cheque for not getting something right. In 2021, there is an argument to be made, of course, that it was the first year of the regulations and errors were expected. However, in 2024, that doesn't quite stack up, does it? We're well in depth in this process. We all know what this process is. The teams all know this process. And the reality is, if you're making procedural breaches now, you have to argue that it looks more secretive than it does look like an actual administrative error. So let me know your thoughts on this one. But the cost cap saga isn't going away. But at the moment, we're not confirming anything that's being reported so far because the FIA, as true fashion, are staying quiet.